I've got capsicums growing here for the last 3 years. Well, this is their third spring season, folks. And this is Leia, if you want to see what's come up right next to me. Gorgeous little girl who was plucking one of my chickens this morning, weren't you? What were you doing? Taking the feathers off it. And then she cornered one of the sheep. She's at that stage where she's been adventurous and wanted to see how good her fangs are. I'll show you how good they are. Sorry, folks. Just me want to put her in her place. But anyway, all right, let's get back to this. That's enough. These capsicums have been here now 3 years, going into spring. The soil's been pretty average. This is the soil we had 3-4 years ago delivered to us, and I haven't removed it. I've just been topping it up. And it was bad soil. It basically killed everything that was growing in it. It was bought from a local garden centre, and they're no longer existed, or don't exist anymore. But I've been working it slowly, but it's admittedly not as much as I should have been, and I'm talking about top dressing it. Nevertheless, the capsicums have still thrived. I had to put a cover over the top, and we've tried to overwinter them. We've done it successfully over the last 2 years, third year now, which is great. But you do get a little bit of dieback too. Now, over the winter period, as it's been really cold, the soil has dried out somewhat. We've been trying to hydrate it, and I need to top dress it now with food. Now, I should remind you or tell you that about half an hour ago, I was out here yelling my bloody head off because I had about 8 chooks in this bed here, and they had just turned it over like there's no tomorrow. It was a bloody mess. I mean, that's why you can see the mulch is not really webbed down properly. It's been sort of fluffed up. So I've got to hydrate it, and I'm going to do that afterwards. But you're all looking at the capsicums and asking me, or asking yourselves, they've got a lot of dead leaves on there, there's a little bit of dieback, what's he trying to do? Are they going to grow? Well, they are. As long as you've got green stems on them, very much alive, folks. They are dormant to some degree. You can see we still had fruit coming on much earlier in the season. I should have taken it off, and you should take it off to reduce the amount of energy the plant needs to be able to keep that to grow. And you can see it's very significant because there is very little sap flow going through the plants. And that's the key indicator to know what to do. And a lot of emails do come through asking when is the right time to prune these back to get them ready for springtime. Well, at the moment, if I look closely, I don't see any sort of bulge coming through on the tips of these buds or nodes. And in fact, it's still a little bit early for these plants to be cut back. And what I'm looking for is sap flow. As soon as the sap flows through the stems of these plants, their out points are where all the little buds are, the little nodes that exist along the stem. Once the sap's in there, they'll start to juice up and plump up like they do on a fruit tree or roses. And when you see that, you know the sap flow going through, which is an indicator to tell you that you can go ahead and prune them, and the sap flowing through the plant will actually heal that cut. Doing it too early, you're leaving an open wound there where there's no sap flow, and being a delicate plant like this, unlike a tree that's semi-hardwood or hardwood, these are delicate, easily affected, especially with the cold weather, because they're not suited to this climate, realistically, at the end of the day. In the northern parts of Australia or in the warmer regions, I'm sure they're growing actively almost throughout the year, giving you lots of fruit. So what do you do once you get to this stage and they're showing signs of growth? Well, you look for dead leaves and you cut these off, or they should just fall off. In fact, sometimes you'll find they don't come off that easily. For the camera, I'm being very kind to this little plant. I normally yank them really hard like that. You can see this one's holding on a bit. So, oh, that's come off. So they should come off with a little bit of pressure. Just clean all that stuff off. And then after we do that, we'll look around and see what deadwood we have on the plant as well. Now, I'm not going to prune this back, but I'm just going to show you what you can do. Also, these little snips, I got them for my wife because she was always complaining the kitchen scissors that she has been a smooth blade. Every time she tries to cut something that's slightly larger in diameter, it slide off. And then I gave her the secateurs and goes, they're too robust. Or the anvil pruners, she doesn't feel comfortable cutting lettuce with those. So I got her these. I don't know, they're a Japanese snip. I can't remember the name of them, folks. I think we've got some online, but oh geez, my bad. You'll see it pop up at the bottom of the screen. How's that? No? It's not going to happen? All right, if I can find it. So check them out. They're really good. They've got a serrated edge on them. They're not that cheap, by the way, too. But, you know, when Japanese make blades, you know how sharp they are, especially for the bonsais. So back to the topic here. That's what I'm using here to snip these away if I need to. But what I'm just doing is removing this leaf so you can see what's happening here. Have a look down here. We've got dieback. It starts from the tip up here. Now it could have entered from, well, it's actually probably entered from all these 3 points. Well, not in all 3 points, but one of them in particular that's caused the dieback to occur on the other stems as well. So once the dieback has hit down to the bottom, sorry, I just got slammed by a couple of dogs. Seriously? So back down to here, you can see the dieback that's occurring on the stem. Well, it's already dead there. We call that canker, and it's worked its way down to the main stem here. Now, let me remind you folks, I'm not pruning anything here yet because we haven't got sap flow showing. We haven't seen new leaf growth or bud swell yet. I'm just going to talk about it, but I know many of you out there who've got much warmer microclimates will have active plants growing with leaves and probably flowers. You can prune those back, so go ahead and prune them, and this is what I'm talking about. When you've got dieback like this, don't try and cut it just there to remove that part of the stem. You're going to have to go down below where the dieback is and go past that point to clean flesh and a fresh stem to avoid any of that canker jumping through there. Now, if I did this now, this large stem with the cold weather that we have at nights, chances are that dieback's going to kick into gear again and continue all the way down to the base of this plant and kill the plant off. Now, I'm going to come back later on to look for indicators and signs that the plants are starting to grow, getting ready for spring growth. You should do the same with yours, and if you're in a nice warm climate, get out there and give them a light prune. Give the soil a top dress. We're not feeding the plant, feed away from the plant, put your superfood down in your black grit and compost, or just get our planting mix, much easier. It's got everything in it, and top dress it lightly and give it a good deep watering. And even an eco-butch, a biostimulant to activate the microbes in the soil. Populate that life, tell them, hey guys, the party's about to start feeding the plant's starting to grow. It's the perfect environment, folks. So these ones here, I don't see any life yet. I've got fruit there, or capsicums and chilies still growing on them from earlier on, so I'm going to remove all that now. That's what the main thing for me is to do, and then I'll come back and clean up the stems and feed them up as well. If you're ready to do it, get out there and do it. And let me get up from my nice locked up knees. There we are. We're back. Check out our website, vasilisgarden.com. Our labelled bags, as we've explained earlier on, folks, are not quite right bags, so we're getting new ones printed. In the meantime, we've got to clear all this stock. It's a repetitive cycle. I know we're jumping the same hoop, but we've got a lot of that stuff heavily discounted. So get your planting mix, compost and cocoa, get it into your garden bed, lock it into one of the nearest outlets so you can pick it up in your ease and leisure. And for those in Thebarton, we're coming up there. You'll find all the details on our website. It's the first weekend of September. So get your orders in while they're discounted, and I'll be driving the big truck to deliver it to you. From me, Vasili, Maresi.